And yes, I'm a doctor, but as I always explain to my daughters, no, I have three. I'm not that kind of doctor, no. So especially when they're sick. So I'm a registered psychologist and a registered guidance counselor. For about 20 years, I've been teaching, and I'm also a practicing clinical psychologist, but before I've been through all this work, I was an HR director, an office manager, I was an operations manager for some time, I was a dog sitter, no, in other countries, no, and all of that. So that's where my diverse exposure, no, to different areas, no, where came from. It's nice that we're having such a summit. I sit as part of the board, I sit as part of the board for the Philippine Guidance and Counseling Association and the Philippine Psychological Association of the Philippines. And we also represent, we are part of the group that sorts of writes the National Wellness Program for the Philippines under the Department of Health. Spearheaded by the Philippine Mental Health Association. So if you will see, mental health is not just an issue in the workplace nowadays, but it's a nationwide concern. No? And the government, no, thankfully, is stepping up. No? But, well, hopefully, it will not take too long, no, to develop the program. When I was asked what I would be speaking for today, they told me that what's the importance of mental wellness in the workplace. So I said, what would I say? You know, so then I will just say very important, no, and that's it, no, and then I will sit down. So and I think most of the speakers will be focusing on the details of that, no, of why it is most important. No, earlier we talked about the consequences and the benefits of having mental health in the workplace, no? And I think most of this has been discussed. No? And if I share to you our work, no, in schools and also in the workplace, we find that there is indeed an increase of mental health issues, both in severity and frequency, no, of what we are handling nowadays. Before in schools, no, the problems that you usually encounter, absent, no, or love problems, no, heartbreak, cannot go over, a girlfriend, no, or what, no. But now we see a lot of suicidal behaviors, no, so a lot of suicide cases, a lot of depression, a lot of SIBs, what we call as self-injurious behaviors, people who cut themselves. No? A month before I came here, I had a client and he was sort of cutting himself. No? And I said, why are you doing that? No? And he said, I don't know, I just saw the knife at home and I cut myself. No? So I said, and I went for I had a series of training, so I said to him, can you at least agree that until I come back that you will at least not kill yourself, no? And he said yes, he can handle it, no? But that's what's happening now, no? So severity and frequency, no, of these concerns, no, are on the rise, no? I'm getting invited to a lot of schools to talk to their children as well, no? Because there's a lot of jumping, no? A lot of these people who go out the window, no, throw themselves out the window. So there is that concern, no? And in the workplace, this is happening as well. If you're in the HR, or if you're in CEO, I know you identify with this, no? Because you're seeing the trend, no? And the trend is worldwide, no? So it's not just here. And in a way, when we talk about wellness, we need to give emphasis to both to the workplace, because when you turn 20, no, or at least now 22, no, in the Philippines, no, in the next 40 years or 50 years, you will be looking into two areas in your life, no, that you will be devoting a lot of your effort and a lot of your time on. No? One is in your relationships. No? You'll be establishing relationships, ending, and then reestablishing one probably. No? And the other one is in the area of work. no? So from the time that you probably graduate from college until you retire, and even after retirement, no, the place where you're going to be working around will be the place of work, and it needs to be conducive, no, for you to grow, for you to achieve that kind of wellness, no? And hopefully, every one of us is building an environment that is conducive for growth, no, and conducive for wellness. So that environment that we establish will be the ones that will provide nurturing relationships, no, that will provide fun, that will provide a place for one to achieve what he needs to achieve, no, and that's what we know, no. So today, I'm going to talk about not in terms of mental wellness in the workplace, but probably more on things that are more in your control, no? Which is your personal mental health, no? And hopefully, as we discuss that, we can extend that to our organizations and see how that could be applied and how we could create an environment that we could create happy workers, no? So, this is recently there was a survey, no, so that talks about the Filipino not being as happy as they were before, no. Although, if you look at that survey, you have to look at it from the other side, which says that the Filipinos are actually happy. No, it's just that the score went down, no, but we're still in the top 3, top 5, no, so we're still happy, no, so. So the one of the ways by which we want to look into this is to assess our own happiness, no? In psychology, we have what we call as the subjective subjective well-being scale, no? And it has satisfaction with life survey, no? SWLS, no? And it asks 5 questions from people to assess their personal level of happiness, no? So I'm not going to give you questionnaires, no, and not going to answer that, no. But just just to reflect, what do you think will be your answer to the following, no? So in most ways, no, my life is close to my ideal. The conditions of my life are excellent. I am satisfied with my life, no. So far, I have gotten the things I want in life. And lastly, if I could live my life over, I would change almost nothing. So these are some of the questions that we ask. Although they say, in the academe, they know that the best way to ask whether you're happy or not is to ask one question: how happy are you? No? Because it's a subjective way, it's a subjective evaluation, so that's the only person who can assess, no, will be you yourself. No? So, in a sense, no, if you've looked into these 5 questions and you feel elated, happy at the end, no, maybe that could be a good sign, no. But now, if you've looked into this question and you're now wondering what am I doing with my life, no, so well, I'm a clinical psychologist. Maybe later, no, you can come to me, no, and you can have a one-on-one session, no. What is it that really makes us happy, no? What is it that determines a person's level of happiness, no, or wellness, no? So if we talk about wellness, it's quite broad, no? You can talk about psychological well-being, you can talk about purpose in life, no? You have other areas of psychological well-being, no? One area of that is our subjective evaluation of how good we are at the moment, how good we feel, no? And that is what we call as happiness, no? So I'm going to focus on that because this is the one thing that we have most control over with regards to wellness, no? So even if the environment is not as conducive, the determinants of happiness, we have some areas there that we are in control, and that is what I would like to focus on in my talk. They say that there are 3 areas or three things that determine how happy we are. The biggest one, the biggest determinant is, what do you think? It's, you won't be able to think about it. Anyway, it's genetics. No? So 50% of our happiness is in our genes. So you're either born happy or not. No? So if you're laughing at your parents for being mababaw, maybe you have to rethink that, because 50% of your happiness is determined by your parents. No? So that means you're mababaw as well. No? So, but 50% of happiness is genetically predetermined. That's one reason why if you're not so an unhappy person and something good happens to you, you will realize that it goes back to your set point, no, of mood, of happiness, no. So, and even if you won the lottery, it will come back to its original level, no. Kasi nga, it's predetermined. If you're a happy person, no, you get fired, yeah, everything happens to you, all the, no, it will go back, no, to that, at least to that level of happiness, because it's predetermined. The second the determinant of happiness is, I think, what we think of when we say what makes us happy. And these are the life circumstances. Are you rich? No. Do you live in a big house? How about your age? Did you finish school? No. Is your life not stressful, or is it stressful? Or do you have those opportunities with you? No. So that also determines happiness. However, what we don't know is that it only accounts for 10% of one's happiness. No? So very small. No? So even though we work our life, no, to get money, no, that will only determine 10% of our happiness, because 50% is predetermined. And the bigger determinant, a much bigger or more important determinant of happiness, are intentional activities. What does it mean? What is it that you do, or what is it that you choose to do to make yourself happy? So this is 40%, and I say that this is most important because it's the only thing that is under your control. So you can be rich, you can get education, that's true, you can get married. The married man is more or less happier than the unmarried one, as they say, no? But it will take you time, probably decades, no? This one you can do now, no? And it determines 40% of your happiness. So I would like to focus on intentional activities more than, no, circumstances, because this is something that we can control for ourselves and for our organizations as well. We talk about happiness and money, no? So just a side topic, no? But does money buy happiness? We said no. Yes, but little bit, no? Because it's part of the circumstances, no, that determine happiness, no? How about a little bit money, a little bit more, no, or a little more money? Do you think that will make you happier? So, of course, no? So why not? No? So what we found was that it does, but it has its risks. No? And I'll talk about two principles as to why money, no, or a little bit more money will not bring you happiness. One is that it's relative compared to who you compare yourself to. No? So if you say you're getting this much, no, but you see your competitor getting more, then that makes us sad, no? Even frustrated, angry, or whatever, no? When in fact you're getting so much, no? Because it depends on who you compare yourself with. So even though you're the richest person in the world, you'll probably compare yourself to the richest person in history, no? And if you're the richest person in history, you'll probably compare yourself, no, to a mythical figure, a god or whatever. No, we never win. No, we will never win, because our tendency is to compare ourselves to those who have far more than what we have. No, but of course, there's also a way of changing that mindset and comparing ourselves to those who don't have. No? So, and if we practice gratitude, I'll talk about that later. If we practice counting our blessings, and if we see the difficulties that others are experiencing around us, no, we feel more grateful, no, and we feel happier. No? So, the second reason, as they say, why it's risky to say that money will buy you happiness is because happiness is determined by your previous experiences. No? What it means is that your happiness or your level of happiness is adaptive. No? So similar to as I said earlier, no. So I remember when I was starting as a college instructor, I have a 4-inch TV, no. So just 4-inch, no, only channel 9 and channel 13 for some reason, no, can be, no. Yun lang that's the only signal, no, that it can get, no. So I have to sleep at 9 o'clock because there's nothing else on TV, no. But now you have big televisions, no. But you adapt, no, at every level, no, of material wealth, no. So think about your first salary, for example, how much percentage that has been multiplied with your salary now, no? But you will not get enough, no? Because this level that you have now, you have adapted to it, no? And that's why cell phones are getting, is a good business, because after 1 year you said, if I get that cell phone, I'll be happy, but after you get it, there's a new cell phone and you say the same thing because you adapt to the new ones, no? So it's quite risky, no, to base your happiness on material wealth, no? So where do we do it? No, where do we base our happiness on? Well, there are psychological principles that they found to determine how we could control our own happiness. These are the intentional activities, no, that I am talking about. So I'll talk about it in terms of what you can do personally and also how you can create an environment conducive for these principles, no, to happen in your organizations. One, of course, I always want to stay with taking care of yourself. Self-care, no, is one of the determinants or intentional activities that one can have, no, in order to increase their level of happiness. No? Taking care of yourself is not only having a facial, no, and things like that, no, but it has that, it connotes that, no, but it's really about health, eating well, no, sleeping at the right time, no. So, but also having self-respect, respect from others, getting the support from the others, no, behaving decently, no, those are all part of self-care. I'll go fast. So maybe we can create an environment, no, in our organizations where self-care is conducive. No, we give them time for vacations. No, I don't know if I'm talking to the right group. No, but anyway, give them the opportunity to not be as stressed as they should, as they are. No? So another one is another principle they found is on living in the present moment, no? And this we call savoring. No? It's not really a technical term, but in psychology it is. No? And it's about doing one thing at the time, no? And appreciating that particular activity that you're doing. So I put a coffee there because that's one of the things that we do most of the time. But sadly, when we drink our coffee, we also check our Facebook, check our emails, no, talk to our seatmates, no, go over our schedule for the day, no. So we don't really get to enjoy the coffee, no, as it is. So it's really about doing one thing at a time, no. Exercises on savoring will include drinking coffee, eating candy, no, the small things like that, as well as walking, no. So enjoying how to take a leisurely walk. No? So if that could be incorporated in organizations, no, that every day we start with probably a breathing exercise, no, maybe a meditation of 10 minutes. What's 10 minutes? No, you throw that away, no, in the comfort room, no. So by checking yourself, no. But if you can do that, no, that increases the level of happiness not only of the individual but of the organization. No, so even just drinking coffee will do. I talked about it earlier, but gratitude, no, looking into the positive, no, counting your blessings, no, all of that goes into the increased level of happiness, no. In schools, we do a gratitude letter, for example, no. So you write something, you thank people, no. You invite people, you thank them, no, not for them but for you as well, no. So it found that it has long-lasting effects, No? So if you thank someone, if you write a gratitude letter, if you appreciate someone, no, it doesn't only stay with you for a day. No? It stays with you for months. No? So I guess the doctors in the house, can testify how it increases, the levels of well-being, even the chemicals, in the body. Apart from the gratitude letter, another thing that you can do are forgiveness letters, even though if you don't mail it, or you don't give it to people, but they found that forgiveness is one of the keys, or one of the activities that creates long-lasting happiness, and one of the keys for long-lasting unhappiness, of course, is unforgiveness. So the key as to why Filipinos are happy even though they're poor is because their happiness is based on relationships. Even the survey recently told us that. They showed that people in the organizations, the ones that they rely on to keep them satisfied at their work, are the relationships inside their office. We know that for a fact, even in theory and in practice, that the reason why people will stay in the organization is not the same reason as to why people leave the organization. But they found that one of the reasons that creates satisfaction among workers are the relationships. So you don't leave if your relationship, well, you don't stay because of relationship, but you will leave because of it. So, I don't know, maybe activities that creates or fosters relationships as good as well. A sense of purpose, not just going to church, but really a deep sense of faith, create long-lasting happiness. That's what we know from research. So I think that's something that we can foster as well in our organizations. So this I like, because this is something that is in our control, but engagement. If you sit in your office the whole day complaining about what's happening around you, you'll never be happy. In the same way that if you listen to boring lectures like this, and you don't engage yourself, then you're not going to be happy. So I always tell my students, who's happier now? The one who raises his hands to recite, or the one who complains? The engagement in the theory of flow by Csikszentmihalyi, he talks about challenge and abilities, and finding the match, to find that particular level of satisfaction. If you have no challenge but with high level of abilities, you're gonna get bored. But if you have so much challenge but your abilities does not match that, you're going to be anxious. So we want to find that place where we have challenge and activities together, so they're matched. So that's why when you're starting your tennis, and you're starting with playing with someone who does not know how to play tennis at well, it's enjoyable. But once you improve, you don't want to play with that person anymore. Or if the other person improved, you don't want to play with that person anymore because it's so difficult. Because we need to look into that match between challenge and activities. This is what I say when I say I like this, is because this is something in your control. Anything can be made a challenge. A person who sells balut can say, today I will go around 2 blocks, but tomorrow I will do 3 blocks. And that's a challenge for him. So you don't need money to create challenges for yourself. So this is something that you cultivate. And of course, the gift of time. So if there's one thing that you can give, it's to volunteer, it's to help out, it's to sit with somebody beside you and say, you need to talk, I have time for you. So you may not have money, but you have these opportunities with you. You have corporations will talk about volunteering, which is nice, but I like to see it as the little gifts of time that we give to other people. So rather than I will set aside my Saturday or my Holy Week to go to a province to help. That's good. And that's what it is. But it's not just that. You don't need to plan for these things in a big way. It's just about sitting with someone, holding someone's hand, for example, and telling them that I'm here for you. Point is, happiness is two things. It's a choice. It is something in your control. Well, not all of it, but most of it. No? And it takes effort. No? So it requires effort. No? So, and those are the things that differentiates our idea of what happiness is. No? If we always talk about pleasure, what's pleasurable, no? Yes, no? You'll get it now, but you'll not. It doesn't have the long-lasting effect of enjoyment, no? Where you've exerted effort to create that feeling of satisfaction. You may not like it when your parents were asking you to play the piano when you were young, but now you get a different level of satisfaction for being able to play a musical instrument. So that wasn't pleasurable when you were doing it, but you now derive a lot of enjoyment from it. So I think in work, no, it's the same thing. We should not focus entirely on what is pleasurable at this particular time, but employee development, no, proposing challenging activities, no, creating an environment conducive for such long-term, no, happiness will give us a great deal of return. No, in that sense. No? So it's really in a control. It's really the ones that are in our control. No? So if you ask me, I'll focus on things that are under my control, and the ones that will create effort. That needs effort for long-lasting happiness. And hopefully, I gave you one path, no, not the only path. No, I'm not a guru of happiness or anything. One path towards a better, increasing wellness, no, for personal wellness, but also wellness in the workplace. Thank you very much.